Good morning, everybody. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. It is Wednesday, November the 5th. It is it has been a blur of a world for me in the last 48 hours. And I apologize. Last night we were hoping to do a little Morning in the Valley overtime, talk some basketball last night, but unfortunately we're unable to do that due to travel considerations out of wonderful Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and we're unable to. I didn't see a thing yesterday. That was basically, by the time I was able to go on, I had not seen a thing. So that was just the challenge, but we will try again tomorrow night. Thank you for everyone's patience. Coming up in just a few minutes, we are going to talk with Jevin Redman, the radio voice of the Evansville Purple Aces. Evansville going to West Lafayette last night, taking on the number one team in the country. Got beat 82-51. So we'll talk with Jevin about that. Look forward to what's ahead coming up for the Aces here in the next couple of days. If you haven't done so already, please go to YouTube, subscribe for free, Morning in the Valley. Hit the little notification bell so you know when we're going live, because, again, now that we are in the season, it's going to be here, there, and everywhere. Hopefully a lot more everywhere, but just some more infrequent times. So you'll be reminded when it is exactly that we do go live. So all our past shows and interview clips and such are there, but please subscribe for free at YouTube, Morning in the Valley. All right, let's hit some headlines of the morning. And biggest win last night, only win last night. I say this, today is an interesting day just from a standpoint of it is a sad day. We have no basketball today in the Valley, but it's also I think we all need a day off and a regroup. It's just everybody seemed to play on Monday except for just a couple. Yesterday we had 5 games in all, 2 on the men's side, 3 on the women's side. Today just sort of all right, let's take a deep breath and circle the wagons before we get going again tomorrow. But we had a fantastic finish in Valparaiso, Indiana, as the Beacons rally back late, beat Eastern Illinois 66-63. First time since 2019, the Beacons have opened the season with a win against a Division I team. And this one, though, looked like it was going to get away late. The Beacons comfortably in front, had a double-digit lead, and then Eastern Illinois just pick away at that thing. And suddenly, in the final minute, the Beacons found themselves down. They were up 13 in the second half. EIU got up by 2 with 4.5 left, up by 2 with 20 seconds left. And that is when freshman J.T. Pettigrew was able to make his and here is a look at the final play from J.T. Pettigrew. Down to final 15 seconds. The freshman catching it at the elbow, gets the bucket and the foul. And this is my favorite part of the whole point. The freshman is pumped, wants to celebrate with everybody. And there's the senior, Brody Whitaker, the 5th-year guy, saying, young man, come on back here. We've got to talk. Because, oh, by the way, we're only tied at this point. That only made it 63-all. Pettigrew able to go to the line and make the free throw, which was obviously a huge point in the game there for Valpo, which was a situation that they were not good last night. 21 of 35 from the line, 4 of 6 in the final 3 minutes, but they hit the big ones. The big one there, certainly from Pettigrew, that put them over the top. This was, let's see, where did I scribbled this down this morning, and let's see. So many notes, so much chicken scratch. First time. Oh, here we go. First time since January of 2014. First time in more than a decade that Valpo had shot at least 35 free throws and had made 60% or worse and won the game. I mean, they were 21 of 35. So last night, a little bit of an oddity. Also, when you throw in the fact, first time in 6 years that the Beacons shot 34.5% or worse and still won the basketball game. Just the third time in the last 20 years. Those numbers just scream, this wasn't supposed to be the Beacons' night, but in the end, it was. Thanks to Pettigrew coming up with the big play down the stretch. And you saw just just the maturity when it mattered from young guys stepping up in the end. Isaiah Barnes also has a double. He had a double-double with, let's see, where did Isaiah go? Here on my notes. 15 points, 10 rebounds. Pettigrew had 13 and 4. Raheem Chaney had a dozen. So in the end, it was a game you got to get, and they got it. It got a hairy down the stretch. But again, just the trust in the freshman from Roger Powell. We have seen it here for a couple of years, whether it has been Cooper Schwieger, whether it has been Allwright, JT Pettigrew. I don't know. We'll see. Opening night. This is Overreaction Wednesday. We're going to overreact on stuff that I'm going to look back in probably even a week, let alone 3 weeks, and go, what were we doing? But we've got one sample size piece, and we're going to get excited about it. JT Pettigrew, heck of a night, heck of an opening statement last night for the Beacons. Over in Indiana, Purdue, number one team in the country, maybe not unexpectedly, ends up rolling past the Aces of Evansville, 82-51. Again, no Connor Turnbull in this one, the reigning and defending Defensive Player of the Year for the Aces. We'll talk with Jevin Redman about that coming up in just a bit. I have not seen any official diagnosis, which may have just gone over my head at some point in all the travels to South Dakota and such here in the last couple of days. But I've not seen any official word from Turnbull. What we did see was early on, Evansville was hanging around this thing. They were down. Trent Hundley hit a 3 with 7:49 left. Evansville was down 20-17. You're hanging in. You're through the third media timeout. You're at the under 8 in the first half. The problem when you play a team like a Purdue, the bottom line, you play one of the elite teams in America. There is always you're always bracing for the avalanche. And the avalanche most certainly came, because from the point it was 20-17, Purdue on top, over the next 13 minutes of game action, the Boilermakers outscored the Aces 33-5. That qualifies most certainly as an avalanche. Fletcher Lawyer, a name we're probably going to have to hear about a lot this season. He had 30, 7 of 10 from beyond the arc for Purdue. When you look at the bright side, look, this is rebounding. Again, without Connor Turnbull, the best defensive player in the league a year ago, 40-40, all even. Evansville only turned the ball over 10 times. That's a very good sign against the number one team in the country. Josh Hughes, 15 points, 11 rebounds. AJ Casey, 14 points, 9 rebounds. It was those two, 12 of 25 from the field. You take that every day, twice on Sunday. The only problem from there, the rest of the team went 9 for 45. And it's hard to beat anybody, let alone the number one team in the country, let alone the number one team in the country in their own building, when the supporting cast can go 9 for 45. Leaf Moeller, 0 for 9 from the field. Keyshawn Porter, 1 for 11. I mean, those are two starters that go 1 for 20. You just got to believe that is a one-night aberration for them. But Josh Hughes, AJ Casey certainly brought their best last night. And, to go 29 and 20 between the two of them was outstanding. Evansville, the next two games, they'll play Friday and Sunday back at home against non-D1s, try to get obviously healthy, try to get some kinks worked out before they get back into the Division I world. All right, let's welcome in our guest. He was in West Lafayette, Indiana last night at Purdue, calling the game between the Boilermakers and the Evansville Purple Aces. Let's welcome in the radio voice of your Evansville Purple Aces, Jevin Redman. Jevin, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful. Short night for you? Did you get home? You got a little early game. That kind of helped, right?
Yeah, not too bad. It was a 5:30 tip, so I got home after midnight, and doing well this morning. And fun atmosphere last night. I'd called one game in Mackey Arena in my career, and it was an exhibition game whenever I was at USI Division II school, and it was loud then. It was very loud last night. They're ranked number 1 season opener, so they were great hosts, very kind to us, and the Aces obviously lost 82-51, but overall it's a great experience.
As I said just before you popped in, when you play a team of that caliber, you are always, from the tip, you're bracing for the avalanche. And when it's 20-17 and you're the under 8 timeout, you're like, okay, we're hanging in, things are fine. And it's a 4-minute by 4-minute game. You just got to keep chopping wood and see what happens. And then over the next 13 minutes, they go 33-5 on you and pretty much bury you. I guess just start the first 12 minutes. What was the best positive from your seat there in that 20-17 stretch of the game?
Well, for people that maybe see the box score and you see 82-51 as the final, and you might think, hey, Evansville didn't play all that well. But really, I thought for outside of the start of the second half, Evansville competed and accomplished some things that they needed to. So if you start with the first half, I was really impressed offensively just with some of the actions and sets they ran. They got a couple of good backdoor cuts for buckets at the rim. And really, I thought they had good shots in the first half. You look at their numbers, they shoot just 3 of 16 from 3 in that first half. But again, a lot of open looks and some guys that are good shooters that didn't shoot well in their first game. But I really thought they controlled the ball. I thought turnovers were going to be a problem against Purdue with their size, their length, their speed, their physicality. But Evansville, only 10 turnovers in the game last year. I thought they protected the ball well. It didn't allow Purdue to get out in transition and get easy buckets off turnovers. So I thought their half-court sets were better than what we saw last year. They got some good actions, just didn't shoot as well as they'd like to. And then defensively, I really thought, considering all the weapons Purdue has and the size they have, I thought Evansville defended fairly well. You mentioned the run in the first half. Evansville's, kind of within striking distance. All of a sudden, a 15-3 lead by Purdue opens the game up. They're up 19 points at half. And then they start the second half on a 12-0 run. I really thought the first probably 5 to 6 minutes of that second half, Evansville got away from what they were doing offensively. I really took some poor shots, which also led to rebounds and transition for Purdue. So I don't know. I thought overall it was a productive night. If you eliminate, again, that I'd say 5 to 8 minute stretch into the first half and the second half, Evansville competed better than I expected.
Connor Turnbull, I have not seen any official news on that. Is there anything you can pass along? Did not play last night, and just when we might get to see him on the floor again.
Yeah, that was the main concerning thing heading into the game. You go back to the Aces exhibition game against Henderson State. They had 3 guys that you expect to see minutes not play. That was Bryce Quinnett, their freshman guard. Trent Hundley, who was on the team last year, saw a handful of minutes, and then obviously Connor Turnbull. Good news is Quinnett and Hundley played last night. Turnbull did not. He was in street clothes, still out that knee injury. The good news with Turnbull is he had a full week of practice last week and was doing things close to 100%. Talking with Coach Ragland, said he had a big day or 2 in practice and is feeling a lot better. The hope is that he can play this weekend. And my understanding, as long as he doesn't have any other setbacks these next couple of days, they hope to give him some minutes this weekend, Friday and Saturday, with their 2 home games. But, kind of the big picture approach for Evansville, they need him come conference time. And you still have, a long non-conference schedule to get him some work in. So, I really think he's extremely close to playing, and the hope is he sees some minutes this weekend.
One of the other towers in the middle, Joshua Hughes, 15 points, 11 rebounds last night. One of the standouts. I mean, again, no Turnbull to go 40-40 on the glass with the team with the size of Purdue, I thought was outstanding. But for Joshua to go 15 and 11, what'd you like out of him last night?
Yeah, I thought that was a major bright spot. And the bugaboo last year, the elephant in the room was Hughes' struggles on the road. And if you kind of, dissect that, he was 5 of 56 from 3 on the road last year. And last night he goes 3 of 7. He hits his first 3 on the first possession, which was encouraging. But, I thought last year, and I've talked about this some, Hughes coming into year 2 last year, he put on about 15, 20 pounds of good weight. He looked the part, but I think he was still a bit unsure of himself. The game was still a bit fast for him. We saw that inconsistency on offense, but this year he looks like a different player. The game's slower. He's very confident in himself, and arguably he's been the best, definitely one of the better players in practice for Evansville the last several weeks. Good to see that carry into the game. You look at his numbers. He finishes with 15 points, 11 rebounds, 6 of 12 from the field, and again, just looked very calm, under control. So seeing that translate from practice to the game last night was a major win, I think, for Evansville going throughout the rest of the season, because they need him to play well. And Turnbull comes back. That's quite the 4-5 option down low for Evansville. So that was a major bright spot. Also thought A.J. Casey played well last night. He really, I don't want to use the term carried because they were down so many points, but Evansville struggled to score in the first 8 minutes or so that second half, and Casey had their first 7 points. David Ragland said a week ago that he thinks A.J. Casey is in the best shape of his career, and I thought he looked very confident, strong inside the paint against some of the better big men in college basketball last night. So Casey, 14 points, 9 rebounds, was a major bright spot, and honestly, he's been better the 2 games that I've seen him than I expected.
And Casey, just a kid with the pedigree of having played at Miami of Florida, having played at SLU again, like he has been in big stages and sort of that maturity, and he's an older guy coming in that kind of feels like, getting 15 and 10 out of him every night probably should be more of the rule rather than the exception, you would hope, right?
Yeah, well, a rebound shy of a double-double last night. The exhibition game, I know it's against a D2 school, but he had 16 points, 11 rebounds. This is a guy that only played 3 games last year at St. Louis, so he's trying to get his work in as well and become comfortable. But the talent's there, and Coach Ragland kind of touched on the post-game show. I mean, he's a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. So, the talent's there, some things that work out for him in terms of playing more at Miami, but he's around a very talented team there in 2023. They're part of the Final Four group as well. Saw a few minutes with that team. So, the talent is there. I think he just needs an opportunity to play consistently. He's going to get that here at Evansville. And, when Turnbull comes back, whether, he stays in the lineup or is your first guy off the bench, it's quite the sixth man to have coming off your bench. So, yeah, A.J. Casey has been very impressive, and he continues to progress from the time I saw him day one in the summer to playing last night at Purdue. And it's very encouraging.
Moeller, Porter, rough nights at the office. And, again, you're playing the best team in the country, and as big and physical as they are, they can make things hard on a lot of kids. Just when you spin this thing forward and, in the end, you kind of got what you got last night, but it was about learning and, hey, let's play together. And as tough of an environment as you're going to play in all season long, what do you think the biggest positive is to be able to spin out of this, especially when you get to next week and you get into more Division I competition?
Yeah, I don't know. When you look at the numbers, it's tough to really pull a positive out from the guards. I'm not trying to be harsh, but, let's start with Leif Moeller. I don't think he played poorly in terms of, not being able to handle the ball or on the offense. He just to make shots last night. He was 0 of 9 from the field, and he had 4 or 5 clean looks from 3. And he's a good shooter. He's going to shoot the ball well. So it's a small sample size, just one game. So I'm not overly concerned about that. I think for him, it's still an adjustment period. I know he played against professionals over in Germany, but it's a different style game. He comes to the States, and people forget about the off-the-court stuff. I mean, he's only been here 3 or 4 months. He's trying to get comfortable himself as well. And he's also learning his teammates. Didn't have really a summer with the Aces roster, so he's learning on the fly, and he will get better as time goes. He's still a very talented player. I was a little surprised he does go 0 of 9 from the field and miss several clean looks, but he'll be okay. One of his strengths is he's got a big frame for a point guard. He's 6'7", so he uses his body very well to get the foul line. We saw that in the exhibition game. He did in a closed-door scrimmage against Southeast Missouri State as well. Last night didn't because of the opponent he's playing against. He's going against probably the best defense he's going to see all year long. So he'll be fine. I'm not ready to push the panic button or anything with Leif Moeller. As far as Keyshawn Porter, he's another experienced guard in his 5th year. Has had several stops, 111 from the field, 0-3 from range. Again, he's a better shooter than that as well. And he'll be able to score at the rim once you get against some smaller teams that aren't as good defensively like Purdue. The only concerning thing I thought in the early second half is Keyshawn Porter took some poor shots. I think he took Evansville's first 4 or 5 shots from the field, and they're fadeaway shots. And I think sometimes when Keyshawn doesn't see a shot go down, I don't want to say panics, but really tries to make up for it in a short amount of time. And that was kind of the only negative I thought from Keyshawn last night was his start to the second half.
This weekend, it's a pair of non-D1s on Friday and Sunday. What do you hope to see? As much as maybe Connor Turnbull, hopefully maybe back in uniform, but especially after, again, one game, we're not jumping off any bridges by any stretch, playing the number 1 team in the country. But this feels like a great opportunity to get some guys some time, get some confidence, see the ball go through the hoop in your own building, and then spin forward to Middle Tennessee next week.
I think you said it perfectly. See the ball go through the hoop. That's what I'm watching for these next 2 games. Realistically, you're playing 2 non-D1s, Calumet and Oakland City. You should handle those teams fairly easily. And if you look at the big picture, these first 3 games, in a way, are kind of like exhibition games. For the most part, you know what's going to happen at Purdue. I mean, sure, there's the slight chance you go up there and beat the number 1 team in the nation. But in reality, you're focused on yourself, trying to prove throughout that game, which I think Evansville did. They had many positives. And then these games on Friday and Sunday, you should take care of business. But I want to see Evansville shoot the ball better. The guys like Keyshawn Porter and Leif Moeller and even Alex Hemingway, who was 1 of 6 from the field, make a couple of shots, get comfortable, because in reality, your season starts on November 12th when you play Middle Tennessee, your first home non-D1 game, taking on Division I Middle Tennessee. So, yeah, these first 3 games, it's kind of getting used to each other. In a way, they're kind of exhibition games. So, hopefully Evansville gets their feet underneath them this week and home on Friday and Sunday.
Jevin Redman, radio voice of the Evansville Purple Aces. Thanks for hopping on for a couple minutes this morning. Enjoy, plenty of tea. You got a lot of games this weekend, right? It's tea and honey. What's you got misting things? How do we keep the pipes, those golden pipes, so magnificent here through a busy week?
Well, I will say, typically, my dude, just the basketball season, I don't lose my voice from just doing play-by-play. You might get sick throughout the year, but last night I mentioned it was very loud. There was over 14,000 there, and great environment. I kind of noticed at home, like, man, I kind kind of yelled last night, more so than I'm used to. So the voice maybe is a little weak this morning, but what a fun atmosphere last night. And for those players, a lot of them, I want to touch on one more thing real quick. So
Sure.
I thought a positive last night, the Aces freshman guard, Bryce Quinnett. Man, what a first college basketball game. He comes off the bench. He gets to the rim right away and gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, misses his first free throw short. Purdue had a thing, free chicken if you miss 2 free throws in a row. Well, he airballs a second free throw. And he's a freshman out there on the big stage. I'm thinking, oh, no, this could go downhill. But he bounced right back, got a couple of buckets in the first half, and he is really impressed. I've talked about him. I'm very high on Bryce Quinnett. I think if you didn't have Leif Mueller, he could be your starting point guard. I mean, he has really passed the test in his several months here at Evansville. But I thought the way he bounced back and ran the offense, was able to get to the bucket, shoot some free throws. I was really impressed with how Bryce not only played last time in his first game, but again, bounced back from that rough start, missing those first couple of free throws. And then last thing, I thought the Aces were very active on the boards last night. We talked about the 20 offensive rebounds, with Casey and Hughes. And I thought James Dyson Merva, who's their big Australian freshman, 6'11". He's a little bit limited offensively, but he had 7 rebounds last night. So again, I think once Evansville plays some teams more their level and they'll have the height advantage, they could do some damage down low. So overall, 31-point loss, but there was still a lot of positives to take away from last night.
Yeah, not many teams on Purdue's level this year, and we're going to learn that very quickly. Jevin Redman, take care of yourself. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you.
All right, see you, Jeff. Thanks.
All right, thanks. There's Jevin. So again, 2 games Friday and Sunday. Calumet, Oakland City, the 2 non-D1s, and then next Wednesday, the Aces back at it when they will take on Middle Tennessee in their next Division I opportunity. Okay, yesterday, and this is something we've talked about it all summer. I'm just going to chat about it periodically every day and kind of keep everybody posted where we are on the metric side of things as we try to get back to take this league to a multi-bid league. The Valley 5-2 on 5-2 on Monday, and then 1-1 last night. And overall, right now, it is just very bunched together for sure individually. Belmont is the top team in the Valley at 105 in the KenPom rankings today, but you have 8 teams from Belmont down to UIC, 105 to 130. So negligible differences between those top 8 teams, with then Indiana State, Evansville, and Valpo bringing up the rear from there. So the conference as a whole, 10th overall in the KenPom rankings. Again, they don't mean everything, but they do mean something. And just knowing that as the 10th best conference with your best team at 105, it's a 1-bid league. That's hard and fast today on November 5th, 2 entire days into the season. Last year, there were only 7 leagues. They got multi-bids to the NCAA tournament. So, the Valley going to have to climb above 10, obviously. And who can be the rabbit, as we have talked about? Who can go off and get off to a 6-0, 8-0, 10-1 type of start and see if they can climb get to the top 100, top 75, maybe threaten the top 50 as things progress. So that is something that we will be watching. Again, there is going to be so much variance in these computer metrics early in the season. We have very little data, obviously. KenPom there's some historical pieces to their metrics. It also is a predictive measure. So they're sort of, hey, if they've got you as a 10-20 team and you win your first game by 40, that's going to help you, but they still think you're a 10-20 team. So they're not going to go totally, they're not going to fly you up the rankings 100 spots or anything. If you just keep winning in the end, and we won't get the NCAA net rankings until sometime in December, the net only uses data from this season. Nothing in the past matters. Nothing in the future matters. So you see some disparity early between the net and the KenPom. By the end of the year, the two shall meet ultimately, because you have the net that only deals with the games that have happened. And once you get to the end of the year with KenPom, there's no more predictive measuring, because those games have all been played already. And now this is what you are. So the numbers pretty much line up at the end, but we'll get some disparity when we finally see the net. But for now, Belmont at the top of the pack at 105. Hopefully sooner than later, we'll get somebody in the Valley popping into the top 100, and then we can just keep climbing up from there. All right, yesterday on the women's side, 3 games on the women's side, as it started off with Southern Illinois. They pick up their first win in their opener against Division II Lewis, 69-53. It was a little bit hairy early, 15-7 Lewis was on top after one, but the Salukis rallied back with 25 points in the second quarter, and they won comfortably from there. Elena Krause, the local product from Oakville, Illinois, played her freshman basketball at Oral Roberts, transferred in 16-7 last night for I guess it was yesterday morning when they played this game for SIU was Krause. And a bit of a scheduling oddity as now the Salukis get 10 days off before their next game. They won't be back in action until next Saturday when they travel to Purdue Fort Wayne on November the 15th. How about Bradley? Kate Popovic Goss's bunch, 94-33 winner over NAIA program Judson. 13 players scored, only 2 in double figures. Maya Foss had 14. The thing that jumped out to me about this, look, you beat an NAIA team by 60. That's fine. This Bradley team has been a team in recent years as Coach Popovic Goss is trying to rebuild this thing, and it's been a very close to the vest offense. It's like we need to kind of like first team to 50, maybe 60 wins it. All about defense. We're going to shorten possessions, and we're just going to try to grind out wins. Okay, the 94 points is what it is. But the part that jumped out to me, 33 three-point attempts for Bradley. And looking back, that is tied for the most three-point attempts in a game for the Bradley women dating back to 2002. Maybe opening things up a little bit. And that great defense can now be accompanied by a potentially potent offense. And that was on display yesterday against Judson. So the Bradley Braves are 1-0. For Valpo's women, a disappointing start for the Courtney Boyd era, 92-54. Fiona Connolly had 12 points for Valpo. This was a 38-32 game at the half. Valpo up 6. DePaul was up 6 at the break. But then the Blue Demons go plus 32 in the second half and ended up blowing out Valpo. The disappointing part of this was 35 turnovers for Valpo. I mean, that's just, that you're not literally going to beat anybody. Most by a Valpo team dating back with the records going back to 2002. So that will be, that's got to be priority 1 through 5 of stuff that needs to get cleaned up for Coach Boyd as they go back and look at the film. Again, Conley had 12 points, 6'3", transfer from Division II Maryville, Cameron Winch. She had 11 rebounds, so offering some size up front for the Beacons. They will now go back on the road. They'll take on Detroit Mercy on Saturday. And again, the part that is just going to be so hard for this young team, a new team, a first-year head coach at the Division I level in Courtney Boyd, 7 of the first 8 games for this program on the road this year. So they're going to be, it's flying the airplane while you're building it. And that is what they are going to have to go through. So played in Chicago last night. They'll come home for a brief stop, and then they head to Detroit to take on Detroit Mercy coming up on Saturday. All right. Well, it is now time to got through yesterday. Didn't get a chance Monday. Apologies for Monday's program. It was doing it from Wi-Fi in a hotel in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I know in the end was not probably the greatest viewing experience. So apologies for that. But Monday we had just a wildly busy day. And really it started, for me, Michael Admire, who was on the program, the Drake radio voice in Sioux Falls, Bradley over in Rock Hill, South Carolina, the 6 games in the Field of 68 opening day marathon, 3 of them involving teams from the Missouri Valley. Rob Doster, Jeff Goodman, and his gang, they have talked about next year it's going to be 24 hours, which is going to be awesome. And certainly from my seat, Murray State's experience in it was positive. Winning certainly helped, but the event was run very nicely, and certainly hope we can get more Valley teams in this thing next year because it's a great showcase. It's one of the few, you're one of the few games going on in the country, especially the early games in the day. There's a lot of games at night, 6, 7 o'clock, but that early window, with Bradley playing at 10 o'clock and Murray State playing at 12:30 and Drake playing at 3, there's only a couple games in the country going on at that time. So a great showcase and an opportunity to go out and show what you can do. What we saw, and we'll just kind of rip through here all the games from Monday since we didn't get a chance to talk on yesterday. St. Bonaventure beats Bradley 69-63, a slow start for Bradley. And really we saw this from all 3 Field of 68 teams from the Valley. Just the first half, for whatever reason, just couldn't throw it in the ocean for certain chunks. Bradley, it was almost worse. They got down 13 in the first half to the Bonnies. They were 1 for 11 to start the game from the field, rallied back, got up 6 with 9:20 to go, and then they scored 8 points the rest of the way. And that is, when I watch them, it is, and again, this is the 100% knee-jerk overreaction Wednesday from one game that was played at 10 o'clock in the morning on a neutral floor in front of just a couple hundred people. But I think I might be a little bit concerned about where Bradley's scoring is coming from. When you've had the Duke Deans and Darius Hannahs and Zeke Montgomery's, like, those are dudes you can all go to and be like, go get me a bucket. And there's guys that are kind of playing into that. This is not going to be a conversation I'm sure that we're having on January 1st. It may be over by Thanksgiving. But for now, it's like, okay, now it's Jaquan Johnson. It's kind of on you. Demarion Birch, you got to step into a bigger role. Need more from you. Medionovich inside. Need you to be able to finish around the rim. It's just that when you get into crunch time and you need a bucket, where is it coming from? And it was just obviously gut-wrenching to get 8 points in the last 9.5 minutes. They got a late stop, got a run out for a chance to potentially, I believe, tie the game in the final 30 seconds, and it was just kind of a wide. Demarion Birch, I think, just trips. The pass was kind of behind him, and he fell down, got tripped by the official, and it was running 100 miles an hour and trying to do a 360 and catch the pass, and he couldn't keep his feet, and in the end, the Bonnies get out of there with the win. But Bradley, they'll be fine. It's just, I'm just curious who's going to be the guy to score when it matters. And that'll be something to watch here in the coming weeks. Murray State 85-77. They beat Omaha, again, a slow start, and then they got rolling. Javon Jackson was awesome. The UIC transfer. He had 24 points. No Fred King. He did not play with a knee injury. Minor, expected. It was more of a precautionary deal. Hopeful he'll be back Friday night when the Racers are at home against Mississippi Valley State. KJ Tenner, starting point guard, played 6 minutes. He got knocked to the floor when trying to score, and then one of the Omaha players fell on him, and so they were evaluating him, and they didn't put him back in. So you have 2 starters that played a total of 6 minutes, and the Racers, they ended up winning by 8. Should have been more. The last 90 seconds of that game were an atrocity. It was a war crime of the Racers trying to close out the game of just careless turnovers, and probably should have won by 15. You win by 8, but that's the thing. Look, you can have those terrible offensive decision making and turnover and all that in the last 90 seconds. When you got a 15-point lead, you've got the buffer. They also went 30 for 33 from the free throw line. That certainly helps everything out. But they get out of there 1-0. Ryan Miller's debut as the Racer head coach. So they will move on now to take on, again, Mississippi Valley State coming up on Friday. Drake rallied back. They beat Northern Arizona 77-71. Drake was up against it. They were down double digits in this one. And Northern Arizona picked to finish last in the Big Sky. If that's the worst team in the Big Sky this year, Big Sky is going to be really, really, really good. Jalen Quinn had 20. Jayshon Thomas, 15. I got a chance. This was one I got to sit down on the floor and watch the entirety of the second half and kind of see it in person. And really, I was impressed with New Mexico transfer Braden Applehans. He had 14 points off the bench, hit a couple of big threes, 3 on the night. Oku Federico, the transfer from South Carolina, 12 points, 8 rebounds. He's 6'9". He's raw. You can tell there's a project in there, but you also see the freak athleticism. He had a rebound at the end of the game that really sealed the win for Drake. That it's like, I don't know, like he just came out from underneath and just elevated over everybody, and it's just these go-go gadget arms just rips the thing in. I was like, holy cow. So you see it's an unfinished product for Drake and Eric Henderson right now, especially with some injured guys that haven't gotten back yet. But you're like, you see it, that this is going to be a team that sooner than later they're going to have it figured out, and they're going to be problems. The one guy that I'm telling you, to see him on YouTube clips and social media clips, and to see Wilkins Jr. exact, the Bowling Green transfer in person, is a sight to behold. He is listed at 6'6", 230. Imagine Jaquan Johnson from Bradley, point guard, 5'9", and looks like he can bench press a house. Just add 8 or 9 inches to him, and you see Wilkins Jr. exact. I mean, he is so broad and so strong. And it is 14 points, 12 rebounds, had 4 assists. I mean, as a guard, I don't know that he necessarily scares you shooting the ball from the outside right now. But if he puts his head down and tries to go to the basket, hashtag prayers up for you trying to stand in his way. He is a bulldozer. And to see him in person and those broad shoulders, holy shnikes. He's a force. So just a big piece to what Drake is going to do this year. And again, I see it. I see it. I see it with Drake. That may take a little bit before they get going, drop it into that 4th or 5th gear. But they have an opportunity, I think, in Eric Henderson's first year to be really good. All right, other games we'll just kind of whip through here today. Belmont, 79-63 at home, took care of Air Force. Tyler Lumblade had 18 points. Sam Orm, I think he's a name that we're going to hear a lot of as this year goes on, had 21 for the Bruins. Belmont was 6 of 22 from three-point range. I don't know how many nights they're going to have like that this year. Still scored 79 points. All good there for Casey Alexander and the Bruins. Southern Illinois, the only non-D1 game on Monday night, beat McKendree 83-42. As you'd expect, no problem there for the Salukis. UIC, a slow start against Detroit Mercy up in Chicago. But in the end, Ahmad Henderson with 23 points. UIC hung 53 on the board in the second half, beat Detroit Mercy 91-71. The one that disappointed me a little bit was Indiana State in Charlotte. They lose 92-76. I just thought that was a game that, in the end, Indiana State was going to be able to go over and steal. I thought that they had enough offense, and I think the thing right now that is maybe concerning through, like, you give up 105 in an exhibition game at Butler, it's fine. It's an exhibition. Again, we don't get too wrapped around the axle with those, but to give up 92 then again at Charlotte, it's just like, okay, who are we stopping? And can we get stops when it matters? That's going to be something to watch for the Sycamores as they, and again, working without their head coach, Matthew Graves, out after his triple bypass surgery, and he'll be back soon, but there's just a lot of flux around that program right now. But the defensive side has me as a little bit of a flag up right now for me if they can get that turned around. The bright spot there, Ian Scott. He was a first-team All-American on the NAIA level a year ago. Dude can play. 24 points, 11 rebounds against Charlotte on Monday. On the women's side, a couple games to get to quickly this morning before we get out of here. Drake had an early game, 83-65, education game up in Eastern Illinois. They win that 83-65. How about Anna Becker, the freshman? Katie Dinnebeer out of the program. Katie Dinnebeer now doing radio, helping out Hunter Phillips on the radio broadcasts, and she got to watch the next generation of Drake Bulldogs come in there. 22.7 rebounds as they went on and got the win. Let's see. Oh, the biggest game of the day, and I didn't mean to skip over this one. The biggest game of the day, really on either side. Belmont's women going in to Norman, Oklahoma, playing the number 6 Sooners, and this was the first step in just a gauntlet of an on-conference schedule that Bart Brooks is putting together this year. The Bruins were down 10 at the end of the first quarter. They were down 12 at the half. Then they go on a 13-0 run in the third quarter and take the lead 54-51 with 3.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And you're thinking, holy shnikes, we might have an opening day massive. I don't even want to call it an upset. Look, Belmont's the preseason pick to win the Valley, but it's an upset from the standpoint of it's the number 6 team in the country on their home floor, but really just a huge opening salvo ultimately for Belmont to go, we are here. Unfortunately, from there, OU ends that quarter on a 7-0 run, and then they outscore the Bruins 26-13 in the fourth. So a 33-13 run to end the game for Oklahoma after Belmont had rallied back to take the lead. Jalen Banks had 16 points. So I know it was actually while I was standing at the Nashville International Airport yesterday, waiting to head back to West Kentucky, the Belmont ladies arrived. Bart Brooks and the gang came walking by, and I was wearing Murray State gear, so there might have been a half head nod from somebody on the Belmont side. I don't know. There's it's the Jets and the Sharks. You get the Racers and the Bruins in the same in the same airspace there. But good effort. I know for Bart Brooks, good efforts were well past, in the end, moral victories with that program. But 84-67, they lose at number 6 Oklahoma. They will host Brown coming up next. More women's action. UIC got thumped at home by Robert Morris, 78-63. Flames up 7 after 1, and then Robert Morris goes 20-6 in the second quarter, took control, and that was that. Flames just 1 of 14 from three-point range. The one bright spot and a name to watch, Jessica Carruthers, played at Butler once upon a time, kind of went the JUCO route after that, but she put 28 on the board for UIC, but the Flames fall at home to Robert Morris. Indiana State, I thought they were getting one, and a big opening, just get 1-0 for Mark Mitchell in the start of year 2 on the road at IU Indy. The Sycamores down 14 points after 3 quarters, open the fourth quarter on a 16-0 run, come all the way back to take the lead. They were up 1 with 3:26 remaining, and in those final 3:26, score 2 points, go 1 for 7 from the field, and fall 67-64. So that's one that certainly, it got lost at the end. But I know for Mark Mitchell, probably is frustrated with anything about the first 30 minutes. Played with their hair on fire for the first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. And it's kind of like, where was that for the first 30 minutes of the game? But Indiana State falls 67-64. Northern Iowa, rough day at the office at home, 63-49. They lose to North Dakota State. UNI shot just 31%, turned it over 17 times. Jenna Twett had 14 points for the Panthers. Best win of the day, got to give it to Illinois State. 87-76 at home over Dayton. Shot 52% from the floor. Danila Washington, 21 points, 9 boards, 8 of 8 from the floor. Addison Martin, 20 points, 10 of 16 from the floor. Illinois State, obviously, a lot of talk about Murray State, a lot of talk about Belmont at the top. Do not forget about Illinois State. They are going to be there at the end. And that was certainly the best win on the women's side on Monday as they beat Dayton. Murray State, they wrapped up their exhibition schedule. They beat Trevecca 104-61. Racers will open up on Friday on the road in Evansville, taking on Southern Indiana. Again, no basketball today. I'm sad. No basketball today. We have to wait all the way until tomorrow. 4 games on the docket. We'll get our first we'll get another look at Illinois State as they will take on Ohio. Say first look. They will, and the word on the street is from reporting up there in Normal is that Illinois State will be fully loaded with their schedule and or with their roster rather, and they will be in Athens, Ohio, taking on the Bobcats, who lost to Arkansas State on Monday. So we will see if certainly hopefully a bounce back performance coming off a disappointing effort in Champaign against Illinois in that exhibition game. Oh, that was 2 weeks ago. And then the Northwestern disappointment this past week. Drake will be at home against Robert Morris. Northern Iowa will open up their season against Cal State Northridge. And on the women's side, Evansville gets a matinee in Cape Girardeau, Missouri against Southeast Missouri State. All right. Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. We have basketball. No show in the morning, but we will be back for Morning in the Valley overtime tomorrow night. Time TBA, probably in the 8 p.m. hour. So, again, go to YouTube, subscribe for free, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live, and we'll let you know when we're back. We'll have some immediate reaction from Illinois State at Ohio. Hopefully hear from the boys over at Drake and Northern Iowa, as well as the Bulldogs and Panthers in action with their home games, and we'll try to just do some live watch along, some second screen experience. We'll, watch the end of the games that are going on together. We can have conversations about that, but also talk with some of the folks involved in those games and get some instant reaction when those are over, coming up tomorrow night. All right, that does it for this morning's edition of Morning in the Valley. Thanks for being on with us today. Thanks to Jevin Redman, radio voice for the Evansville Purple Aces, for joining us as well. Hit YouTube, subscribe to us. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow night sometime. Get in the 8 o'clock hour, Morning in the Valley overtime. Looking forward to that. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for watching Morning in the Valley.